Man, I can't wait to review Kung Pao, the best martial arts film. Oh, my balls of fury! Hello and welcome. As you can tell by the title, I'm the Obsessed Movie Man, O.M.M. One of the greatest martial arts films ever made was the last film completed by the great Bruce Lee. It's also an action film that places its foot in blaxploitation, has inspired tons of fighting media, and was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. But enough of this introduction. Let's talk about the film, shall we? A crime lord named Han is holding a martial arts challenge on his private island and is inviting fighters to attend and participate. Unable to prove his illegal dealings, a British agent enlists a martial artist named Lee to go undercover as a challenger, but to also gather evidence of Han's illegal activities. Other participants include the gambling addict Roper and his friend, Williams. Who wins? Who loses? Who's on first? Who knows what's in store? Let's get this out of the way. The first major plus of this film is the fighting. I mean, you can't not start off a fighting movie review without talking about the fighting, especially when it's Bruce Lee. Every punch, kick, slap, or any physical form of contact is felt by the viewer, be it because of what you see, what sound effect is added, or all of the above. One of the ways I find it effective for Bruce is when you hear him screaming when he fights. I'm aware some might find it silly or something that has now become a cliche, but when I watch and listen to him yell, I get chills and feel so sorry for the pain he's going to cause his poor opponent. And while a lot of the film shows it at a fast-paced speed, there are moments of slow motion where you really get to see the beauty of his techniques, which is most notable in his fight against O'Hara. Bruce himself had a lot of input on the fighting scenes, to the point where he directed the opening fight in the monastery. Bruce's insistence that the action be as realistic as possible led to some cool, yet dangerous elements, such as the fight with O'Hara where they're using real broken bottles instead of fake glass. And of course, some injuries were involved, including cuts from broken bottles, a snake bite, all of these happening to Lee. Lee isn't the only one with a great set of moves. John Saxon, who has a black belt in karate, has a great introduction where he takes down some people who are after him for money. And another great scene is between Williams and Han, where we see that Williams puts up a good fight, but is no match for Han's ferocity. And there's also a cool scene in a flashback regarding Lee's sister, Su Lin, where she fights off O'Hara and his men. But more on that scene later. And then there's Bolo. Sweet, terrifying Bolo. Picture an Asian version of Tom Hardy's Bane and crank up the brutality 10 times. The way he kills people is so scary that it could potentially rival some of Jason Voorhees' kills. The man is no joke, and his fight with Roper literally had me on the edge of my seat. A large amount of the fight scenes were choreographed, rehearsed, and filmed in, shockingly, only 8 days, which put a toll on Saxon so much that he later stated that he didn't want to do another karate film again. Don't worry, Saxon. I see your dream role being in a slasher film with a man who fights with a knife-bladed glove. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Ha ha ha. Speaking of which, the villain Han has a similar weapon to Freddy Krueger, but more noticeably, to Shredder. He's even a Shredder-type character who learned martial arts and then perverted it for his own evil purposes. But if we want to add on to some more similarities, Han also feels like a James Bond villain, with a signature weapon, an island, criminal empire, and even a frickin' white cat. It's almost like if Shredder was in the film Dr. No, or You Only Die Twice. It's You Only Live Twice, you idiot! Not You Only Die Twice. One of the writers of the film also said that he wanted Han to be a devil who believed in something, and that right there makes for a great villain. which is what Han is, especially with his final fight with Lee in the climactic Hall of Mirrors scene, which, fun fact, used over 8,000 mirrors which Bruce Lee broke with a small piece of iron that he had in his hand. The look of Han's island is very impressive, considering that it's an island that doesn't technically exist in real life. One of the film's producers took pictures of different islands and mansions from a plane and later composited those places to become the island. Another awesome thing about the film is the music, which incorporated a traditional film score, some jazz, and a bit of funk. And that concoction, my friends, had the soundtrack sell over 500,000 copies, which also resulted in the soundtrack gaining a gold record. I'm going to fully admit that I'm not an expert when it comes to the martial arts genre, so maybe I'm missing something when I say that the characters are not too developed. But even then, the whole point of the film is to see the fights, so maybe it's an unfair thing for me to expect. Hell! Bruce Lee's character is literally just named Lee, so you could consider that this is Bruce Lee going off on one of his many Bruce Lee adventures. At least I'd like to think so. Despite this, I have to say that I think the inclusion of Lee avenging the death of his sister is unnecessary, especially since he avenges her fairly quickly by killing O'Hara halfway into the film and is never mentioned again. If anything, maybe it should have been Han who killed her so that there was more tension between the two, especially in the end. And with that, those are really my only two criticisms of the film. From a Western perspective, I was hoping for a little more character to these, well, characters, but it is possible that this is how it's done in media outside the US, or that the whole point was just to see the action. Either way, what the hell does my ignorant butt know? But I do stand by my criticism that the sister part of the story could have either been cut or altered to have had Han be the one who ultimately killed her. Enter the Dragon was the first Hollywood studio-produced Chinese martial arts film, which some studios were hesitant doing at the time due to the film starring a Chinese actor as the lead. During production of the film, a dead body was found near the set, causing filming to be put on hold. A bit of deja vu there, since that's what happened in Predator 2, the last film I reviewed. The film also featured Jackie Chan in the film as a stunt double. The thing is, one of the stunts went wrong and Lee accidentally struck Chan in the face. Lee felt so bad about this, he promised to have Chan appear in more of his future films, which unfortunately was not bound to happen as Lee would sadly pass away 3 weeks before the film's premiere, making this his last film. Enter the Dragon is a fun ride and a great way to get introduced into the martial arts genre, demonstrating fantastic fight choreography, impressive and creative sets, great music, and while it may not have the absolute best characters, it has a star with enough talent and charisma around him that it makes you forget that and respect the passion he puts into every aspect of the film. So when you can, kick yourself into watching Enter the Dragon. And yes, that's the best pun I've got. Thanks, this is an O.M.M review. This is O.M.M, signing out.
Lie down. Lie down.
Duffy's in the shot.
No, he's not.
No, I was just talking to the camera. Duffy's here. Duffy, lie down.
Lie down, Bubba.
Good boy. I just need to make sure he's not behind me when I fall. Alright, ready? Wait, hold on a second.
Aim for your face.
Not for the face, just like right up here. Alright, ready?
I'm going for the face.